All right, traders, welcome back. This is like the video I feel like a lot of you guys have been waiting for, and you guys are going to be really surprised how simple this all is. Guys, this is going to be literally putting everything all together. And before I even start with my strategy and my approach, I want you guys to just really understand market structure, liquidity, peer price action, and the understanding of breaks of structure and retest is all I do, right? And these are the most important entry confirmations that I use. One is going to be higher time frame bias, so higher time frame market structure, right? Followed by lower time frame structure, so we can think about it as liquidity sweeps. We can look at it as a break of structure slash a retest. And we can also look at it as engulfing candles, right? So these are my most important concepts of how I get my entries. And guys, remember, if you guys don't already do this, it's going to take time to understand. If you guys don't see the markets the way I do, it's going to take time to understand. But I want you guys to really be clear on something. Okay? After I get my higher time frame bias, so number one, everything else is on the lower time frame, either the 15 or the 30 minute. The 30-minute is going to be used if there's so much price action on the 15-minute that I get overwhelmed. But I usually use the 15. And this is where I look at everything I taught you guys in this course. And that's why I say the 15-minute time frame is the powerhouse of the lower time frame. I use the 15-minute time frame the most. It's because everything I taught you guys in this course, almost everything, this is where the 15-minute time frame becomes important because that's where I find and look at and pay attention to all of those things. Okay? So, liquidity sweeps, breaks of structure going to be on the 15-minute time frame. That's when I'm looking for them, right? That's when I'm truly looking for them to get my, entry to execute. Even my engulfing candles that I look for, usually on the 15-minute time frame. If I notice them on the higher time frame, that's great too. But because the lower time frame is where I get my entries, that's when I pay attention to it the most. So not only are we going to be looking at this, these entry confirmations, we are going to be putting all these concepts that I taught you together. But I need you guys to ensure you have a strong foundation in understanding market structure, how I have taught you guys. If you can understand it that way, what I'm about to say right now is should make so much sense. Okay? Should be clear. It might take a little bit to get used to it, but it should be pretty clear. All right, let's get started. We are on the 4 hour. The 4 hour time frame is what I like to use. I am going to do what, guys? I'm just going to zoom out, just get an overall picture. I want to see what are we actually doing, right? Overall bullish, beautiful. Then I like to see what we are currently doing. Okay. When I say currently, guys, I'm really meaning from kind of here to here in this area. What are we doing, guys? Well, we are creating bullish structure, right? We're creating bullish structure. Yes, we have a retracement, but of course, guys, we can't just always go up. So we had a strong impulsive move, right? And then we started selling down. Now, where are we in the market? Okay. So you can ask yourself a couple questions on the higher time frame. Okay. What is the overall trend direction when we zoom out? Okay. What is the overall trend direction of current structure? And number three is where are you in the market? These are the questions you should be asking yourself on the higher time frame. These are the questions you should be asking yourself on the higher time frame. Okay? So we just established overall trend direction is what? Bullish, right? We just established that the current trend direction is still pushing bullish, right? Because realistically, we have a strong impulsive move here. We have buys, we have bullish structure being presented, but and then sellers gain control, which could be a retracement, right? So we could potentially still be overall bullish. We can acknowledge that, sellers are in control right now at current price, right? Now, where are you in the market? Okay. When I say where are you in the market, I really mean as far as structure. We know what price creates higher highs and higher lows in bullish market structure. We know price creates lower lows and lower highs in bearish market structure. So I want to know where we truly are so I can what? Get in the market on. So what did I say I like to do on the 4 hour time frame? One support, which is a low, and one resistance, which is a high, right? Usually I'm going to do it like this. Sometimes I might do it even larger and do it like this. But because I'm so used to this, I know that on the lower time frame or when I go lower, this is going to be some type of high. Okay? But listen, you see how it's some type of high here? And then when you put a line, you see it's a high. But if you are, just starting out or you want a larger range to look at, do it here, right? Do it from here to here. That is perfectly fine. As long as your range is at current price action, when I say at, I literally mean at current price action, you will be fine. And this is the same thing as people doing what? Drawing their daily high and low. It really is the same thing, right? It really is basically the same thing. But I like to do my things on the 4 hour time frame because that's how I like to do it, right? And you guys might notice that sometimes I box it, and this is why, I don't know why I do it actually. I have zero reason. I want to be honest. I have zero reason reason to box it. I just like the way it looks. Realistically, that is what I'm not gonna lie. Okay, so I'm gonna bring back this zone to this level here. I may adjust it on the lower time frame. Remember, you can adjust things. Even if you don't like it as you go down, that's okay. So this is how the 4 hour time frame is going to look. I have one support and I have one resistance. Okay. If I wanted to validate these zones, what can I do? I can look left. I can see we had a touch there. Beautiful. We had a touch there, touch there. Even if I drag this one, we have what? Multiple touches there. Okay. If you don't want to drag it, just have it at current price. Does not matter to me as long as it's easy for you to see. So now that we have that and now that we have structure, what can you guys see? Where are we? Where are we currently at? You know how we are currently bearish right now, guys? Okay. We are currently bearish, but we know overall structure is bullish, right? Do you guys know that what? When we came at to where are we currently at? We're currently at a previous high, right? We're at previous high. Don't those get tested to create a higher low sometimes for price to continue pushing up? For price to at least go back up? And once you say, guys, we are anticipating price to do what? Which I'm just connecting the dots from all the videos in my course, guys. This is the way I'm speaking should make all sense if you went through all the content. Okay. So if I'm already at support, if I'm at the support zone, right? And we retrace here, what is price doing? It's respecting these lows down here, which is great, right? We're tapping into a previous high, which we know price likes to create a higher low at, right? Especially when we're overall bullish, right? We know that this is a previous low too. What do previous lows love to do? Create what? Lower highs, right? So already, guys, you guys know we can do what? Anticipate a retracement in this area, maybe, if we fail to break. That's the key word, right? But I would rather think about all that on the lower time frame, like the 15-minute time frame. Okay? Because at the end of the day, I've established I know that I'm at a previous high and I know price likes to test those to retrace. Also, because we're at a low, okay, we look like we're trying to form some type of support, and it looks like we might test this level. If we fail to break this level, guys, when we approach it, what do you think price is going to do? Come back down. And what's important to watch? This low here. Why? We might do what? Create a higher low to continue pushing up, right? Or we might come down here, sweep the low, hold, and then continue pushing up. And we can validate this by what? Using a reference point, right? We can find that on the lower time frame. Okay. If we break this, if we just come and break this, we know we can try and get an entry here for buy continuations, right? These are the things that you're thinking about, usually on the lower time frame. But I wanted to go in depth as far as like, okay, on the higher time frame, we're at previous high. We could potentially be creating a support. We know the next zone we could be targeting is this because we're anticipating maybe a retracement may occur. That is it. That is all I'm thinking about. That is all I see, right? Now I like to use the 2 hour and the 1 hour. So my middle time frames, okay? This is where I sometimes like to draw zones within my trading range or my area that I drew on the 4 hour time frame, okay? Sometimes I add maybe zones above it because, I'm like, maybe I want a larger range. So in this case, yes, I do want a larger range. So when we go back to the 4 hour, it is the level that I had originally or at one point, my high and my low of my trading range, right? I liked it better. I like it better here, but sometimes I do try it, kind of here and I like it and I prefer it too. So in this example, I think I like it here. Why? Because it's clear to my eyes. That's all that matters. As long as it's clear to your eyes, it's okay. You can do it, right? And even this, you know what? I'm gonna be like, I don't like it. I don't like it stretched out this far. Guys, this is what I'm thinking in my head. This is when I'm charting, these are the thoughts that go through my head. Okay. So now that we're here, guys, we can draw more zones in between our major support zone and our major resistance zone that's found on the 4 hour time frame. So this is a 4 hour zone, 4 hour zone. Okay. But guys, I don't need to do too much, right? I do not need to do too much because why? Because literally, because literally, I already have a zone in between this, right? It might not be a zone that you guys normally draw that may look like this, but guys, this is still clear to me. I might draw it as a line, you might draw it as a zone. It does not matter. Okay? As long as you have some point to reference to if price decides to, potentially continue pushing down or break to continue pushing up, right? So the 2 hour time frame or the 1 hour time frame, or aka your middle time frame, is literally where you draw some type of zone in between the major zones that you drew on the 4 hour time frame. Okay. Once you kind of have that done, you can drop down. So a lot of times I find the 15-minute to have a lot too much price action. Like, look at this, too much going on. So I immediately go to the 30-minute to see if I can, make it more clear to me so that when I do drop down onto the 15, it's a little bit more clear. So this is me readjusting my zones. I'm like, I don't even need to look that far, right? I don't need to look that far. I already know I don't because why? What matters is current price. I know that these zones are validated because I looked left, and so I don't need to validate it anymore, right? I don't need to. So I'll just adjust this, right? I'll readjust this and I'll be like, okay. So basically, what are my thoughts? Well, my thoughts are what? If, right now we are currently doing what? We're creating bearish structure, right? You see how we failed to break these previous highs here? When we fail to break, what do you expect to do? Price might come back down. And you guys also know that this is also an 8R level. So we are anticipating this. If we fail to break, we were going to retrace, right? And then when we retrace, we can either stay above the previous low or we will do what? And guys, I'm talking in depth because I want you guys to understand the way I do it, right? So I'm gonna draw a dot. Okay, so we're looking here. I'm like, okay, I know that if we fail to break this level because we have more width than body, right? At the zone, it's a rejection. It's not a break of structure. I know price can create a higher low and continue pushing up to break and retest, maybe continue pushing up like this. Or we could do what? We could, come here, sell down, or sell down and just continue selling down if sellers are strong, which price would break this level and then potentially come down here. Or we could do what? We could take this low out and hold, right? And how can we validate any liquidity, guys? We can validate it by what? Looking left. So I'm basically like, okay, I'm gonna find a low. If you guys don't understand this, remember, my videos, I talked about this. This is how every single video is I showed you guys is everything that I do. Okay. I will validate this. I'm going to be like, okay, you know what? I'm going to be prepared for any liquidity sweeps that happen. Anything that happens above this reference point, okay? Anything that happens above this reference point, I'm going to be okay. I'm going to accept it because I know we are staying above this point here, right? This reference point. So that being said, guys, do you also see how we swept this and then we pushed up? This is a liquidity sweep, right? We're taking out a previous low and now we're going to try and reattempt to break structure here, right? Now let's try and see if we can see this or, use the 15-minute time frame and feel less overwhelmed. I'm going to even make this smaller. I'm even going to bring this a little bit lower because we're all the way down here. Once we get maybe a little bit, once we break maybe this level, maybe I'll start, looking higher. So I'm just going to readjust my resistance, right? And you can always readjust. This is the whole point. Like you don't have to completely have it at one point and stick to it. And even me, I'm going to, make this less like this. Now I'm going to go up back onto the 15. And I'm going to ask myself, do I like this? No, I do not. I'm going to move this even lower. Guys, this is still valid. Like you can still do it like this. Because why? Because at the end of the day, guys, you are going based off of what? Market structure. And you guys know that if we, break this previous high, what's the next high? You already know this, right? And you can just mark them. So I actually like it at this zone where better now. Right before I had it there and I was like, oh, I didn't like that on the middle time frame, but now I like it on the 15-minute time frame because it makes me feel less overwhelmed. Okay, so I'm gonna keep it like this, right? So realistically, guys, what did I say my entry confirmations were? Engulfing candles, higher time frame market structure, which we already just talked about. We already got it. We already established that what? Price could potentially come into this area, and if we fail to break, we might come lower. If we break it, we know we can continue pushing up, right? Why? Because we are at some type of what? We're at some type of support zone. We're at a low, and we're also, if we look all the way over here, we're also at a previous high, right? We need this to break in order to continue pushing up because we know that these lows here, love to be tested to create a lower high, right? We're just connecting the dots with everything you already know. Okay. But again, I pay attention to these the most on the lower time frame, right? So we're watching structure, we're watching how price is being presented. We're watching to see if we can get in on a break of structure and a retest to then, fly up, right? We already have a liquidity sweep, right? We already have a reference point in case price, decides to go lower, right? We now just need some type of point to dictate if buyers are actually control after this liquidity sweep happen. Okay. So what am I looking at? Well, I know what. We know what, guys. These levels love to be tested to create lower highs. So I also remember I told you guys in my break of structure strategy video, guys, I'm just connecting the dots. That's all I'm doing. Remember, I also said that if we don't have a high that we want to use, right? Because we already see that this level kind of already got tested here, and this is an AR level as well. But we can use lows in a bearish market if we don't have a high we want broken. And you guys might see this as a low that a low here that we want broken, or you can see that a high was created. But let's just say we were actually here though, guys, right? We might not see a clear high right now. We might not see it. So you can look left, right? And use this, right? A low in a bearish market. Again, this is all in my break of structure and retest strategy video. You can wait for a low in a bearish market to be broken in hopes that price is going to retrace and come and push back up. So, entry confirmation, LQ sweep, cool. We're holding at a support zone, cool. Higher time frame bias is showing that we might push up to create some type of lower high if we fail to break that zone, right? So we know we're going to at least continue pushing up maybe until this level here. And then if it fails to break, we know sellers might gain control again. Okay, that was higher time frame bias, right? In order to confirm bias, I need what? a 15-minute break of structure. No 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 break of structure. This is you literally. You're waiting what? Maybe 30 minutes, an hour 30. That's like 2 hours of waiting if you were right here. That's like you have to have patience, right? That's 2 hours of waiting. Or if you hopped on the chart when the candle was here, that's even better. But listen, sometimes we have to, we have to wait a bit. No break of structure. No break of structure. No break of structure. We get a break of structure. Beautiful. Why are we not scared? Because we know price has to retrace at some point to do what? Create a lower high, okay? To continue pushing up, right? So after I get my 15-minute break of structure, guys, what do I want to pay attention to? Well, I want to just pay attention to where we actually are in the market. Well, I know that we're approaching a high, and highs can sometimes be considered as resistance. I also, yeah, guys, one thing I just noticed, I don't like how thick this zone is. Guys, this is how I am. Like when I'm charting, I readjust all the time. It is always okay to. Why do you think you have to keep it the same? Like, why do you? It's your chart. If it's not nice to look at, you're gonna mess up. Like you're not gonna, you know what I mean? So I'm like, oh, this is so much better for me. So I like this better. Okay, beautiful, right? Break of structure, beautiful on the 15-minute time frame. Check. So I'm gonna make a list. So higher time frame bias, we did. Okay, now I want a 15-minute break of structure. Well, we can say look that 15-minute structure slash analyzed. We did. And when I say this is basically saying that we looked at all the concepts and kind of analyzed it the way I did it throughout the course, right? All the videos in the course, the way I analyzed highs and lows, liquidity, all those concepts, breaks of structure, failed breaks, advanced market structure, so anticipating retracements. We are looking at all those on the 15-minute time frame. We established an AR, we retraced, right? We're failing to break structure, so we know it. We have only one other option to do to come back down, right? We took out this low, we held, beautiful, right? We had a reference point, right? Price didn't even come near it, so we're still good. Okay. And then, even this reference point, guys, I want to be very specific on how I do it, even if it means like I'm, retracking and going back, because have, I want you guys to understand how I see everything. Like, and this is how I, do it. So even this, because I know we were on the 30-minute, I usually prefer having my reference point on the 15. So I'm just going to slightly bring that up a little bit. It was barely a difference, honestly, but I still wanted to do it just to show you guys that you might not always be perfect on certain time frames, okay? So, yep, we analyzed it exactly how I did it on the, in my videos, exactly. Beautiful, right? For entry confirmations, I want a break of structure. I told you guys a break of structure slash retest is how I get in. So I need a 15-minute break of structure. That is my rule. So until the 15-minute breaks, I am not getting in. And guys, listen, when you've been trading for a while, you learn to, sometimes enter very aggressively. So meaning, okay, maybe because you're just used to the markets, you got in here. This is when you're used to it. But if you are still, learning an approach, learning a strategy, you need structure. When I say structure, you need a foundation, something you can utilize more consistently until you get confident in seeing things where you're like, oh, I'm just gonna enter. I've seen this so many times. I've seen this move so many times, okay? So that is one thing I want to just point out. Okay, maybe I would have gotten in here because I'm just used to how the markets are. That's just me. Okay. But I want you guys to wait for a 15-minute break of structure. So beautiful, right? And we want a retest, right? Where would we create a higher low is where you're kind of thinking about. Well, we know what previous highs is where price likes to test to create a higher low. We know we're approaching some type of high that we kept failing to break. So we might, anticipate a retracement in this area for a retest, right? To continue pushing up. Like to watch the retest on the 5 minute time frame. Okay, so then you're gonna drop down onto the 5 minute, drop down to the 5 minute. Okay, wait for price to retest, and then you're gonna market X. You're gonna enter. Okay, market execution means literally you're just gonna execute the trade at the price that it's at. So you can watch it on the 5 minute. So I'm gonna just wait. Okay, so I'll have my position ready, right? Because we already have our confirmations. What are we doing, guys? We came here, we created a higher low. We're respecting this previous low here. We broke a previous high. We're respecting lows, right? And we're breaking highs. We have our two things. The power of highs and lows. In my video, I said you need two things. We have those two things, right? We have an AR level that couldn't be broken multiple times. So we did what? Swept liquidity, right? We have a liquidity sweep. We have a break of structure. We have price creating higher lows, bullish market structure. We have higher time frame bias showing us that this is a strong support. What more confirmations do you really need? That's basically my question. I don't need anything else, right? So I wait for price to come and retrace on the 5 minute, right? And then I'm gonna target. I determine my targets, guys, is previous highs because we know we want those broken, right? So all these levels here. So I'm just gonna this previous high, this previous high. Okay, these are my targets, right? And if we fail to break, then we know we're going to come back down. But because I understand that we are, at a strong level and on the 4 hour time frame, we might eventually, come into this area because this is where we might create what? A lower high. I might have my TP in this area, right? But the key thing is to remember when you have a high target, you have to make sure price is actually breaking structure, breaking this previous high here, right? Then breaking this next previous high here. So you can have your target one is here, this previous high, target two is here, then final target here. But if you are a scalper, you don't even need you literally just need this, right? You literally maybe just need this, right? Or even lower, even this, right? So just based off of how much pips or how many points, whatever you want to call it, you want, that is gonna be your that you can have your target like that. But because I like, a good target, so I'm gonna have, at least minimum this previous high here, right? Or I'm gonna have it at this level here. Okay. So we're gonna wait for price to test it on the 5 minute to get in. Okay. Stop loss I like to do just below the previous low. So I know this is a very large stop loss. So sometimes I will drop down onto the 5 minute to see if I can find a better level that I can use as my low, especially because I like to have my risk to reward ratio a minimum of 1 to 3. A minimum of 1 to 3. So I'm gonna drag it up and I'm gonna instead of this previous low here, I'm gonna use this low here, right? So I'm gonna have my stop loss in this area. Sometimes when I'm really confident in my entries though, I might even have it more tighter because I'm confident, right? And even this area is validated by this low here. So I'm gonna have my stop loss at some type of low. Okay. It's gonna be at some type of previous level or low. So it's gonna be in this area here. So 48 pips, I'm way happier with 48 pips. Okay. I understand once if we, start coming near here, it shouldn't want to come near here if we are truly bullish, guys. If you have a good entry, you'll know, right? You'll know just based off of how price is moving, right? We have a high, so look at this. Look at this. Price hasn't come into our zone yet, right? Remember, we're kind of looking in this area too, okay? Let's wait. And remember, 15-minute time frame is the powerhouse of the lower time frame. So we know we have to come into closer to this area, right? Which it kind of did, and then this is where I'm like, okay, I'm liking how momentum is. I'm liking how we are coming towards our zone. Again, we have structure. We have all our confirmations. This is where you have to not be scared and be confident as a trader, right? You have your confirmations. Do not be scared, right? And then you let price do its thing. And then this is where you would get into the market. So it slightly went, a little bit what's it called? A little bit higher, right? So that's okay. Honestly, I was kind of looking at this wick here when I did see that. So my zone for this should probably have been a little bit higher, so maybe in this area instead. But my whole point is because I'm market executing the trade, right? When I see price come come towards it, towards my zone, I'm already thinking about entering in the trade. So even if it was something like this, that's okay. All right, stop loss, okay. It's gonna be at some type of low or even a previous high because I know those like to be tested to create a higher low, right? Okay. So I'm going to, execute the trade, right? I'm gonna go on trading. I'm not trading view, trade lock or whatever you use to execute your trades, and I'm gonna put my position in this area. So even though we didn't come directly in this, because we still did what tested what this high, and this is why I don't marry my zones because I know that as long as we're in the area, I am going to market execute because guys, remember this is a 5 minute. What is the are you really not going to get into the trade because it didn't perfectly hit this line? Come on. Like think about it, guys. From here to here, from here to here. It's so that not a huge difference, right? It's not a huge difference. Like we are not like this is like from here to here, not that huge. Or this is nothing. So it's okay if if price doesn't tap perfectly in my zones, then that's okay. But yeah, honestly, I probably should have, maybe, put my line a little bit higher at this point here and then had my zone slightly in this area. That's okay. We live and you and we learn. That's okay. But because I'm waiting for price to approach my zone, then that's where I'm going to market execute because this is now price, testing a previous high to create a higher low. And then all I'm doing is going to have my targets at either a previous high, right? This previous high here, this previous high here, or this previous high here, ensuring if we have it all the way up here, that price is continuously breaking previous highs. And my stop loss, okay, I would love my stop loss at a previous low, but sometimes my risk to reward ratio is too large. It's just not too large, but it's just not what I want. I want a minimum 1 to 3. So even if I have to move my stop loss to get my a minimum of 1 to 3, I will do that. Am I happy with risking 80? This is 80 pips. I'm not. I'm not. So I might even increase. I might even drag it up a little bit more, right? And that's okay because realistically, guys, if I was to drop onto another time frame, like even like the 3 minute, right? We could find some type of, low or level that I could truly use, right? Or even a previous high, right? Because we know those like to be tested to create a higher low, right? So we know that okay, if we truly come back down here, maybe we weren't as strong as we thought we were at this level, and we might test a different level. So I'm gonna be stopped out at that point, and then reanalyze maybe, and then re-enter, right? So my stop losses are usually gonna be based off of previous lows. If my risk to reward ratio gives me a 1 to 3, if it's a 1 to 1, 1 to 2, because my stop loss is too large, all I will do is just readjust it to a point that gives me a 1 to 3 and a point that will allow me to be okay with the pip amount or my stop loss amount that give so I'm okay with losing that amount for the trade, right? Because if it's this much, I want to be okay that if I put a certain lot size or certain trade in, that I'm okay with losing this much money when I place a trade, right? If I'm like, oh, this might be a little too much for the lot size I'm using, I might, slightly bring it up, right? Just to allow myself to, maximize my wins and minimize my losses. So sometimes it might not be directly at a previous low, but this is just to ensure that I'm okay with my, my loss and okay with my risk to reward. So this would be an example. And again, when you have a good entry point, you will know, you will just know because price will usually react nicely off of it. And then you just watch how price is. So we know if price comes to this level and we don't break it, what do we think price is going to do? It might come back down here, right? And if we come back down here, right, and hold in the area, we're going to continue pushing up. But what is this also, guys? This is also a previous high, right? It's a high. Previous highs get tested to create a higher low. So we create a higher low and then we immediately pushed up. And we didn't even have to retrace at this, this high here, right? We were so strong, we just flew. And then you see how price tested this level. And isn't this the same level that we were thinking that price may do what? React from to create what, guys? A lower high, right? So we just got an entry and a great amount of pips just from analyzing higher time frame, right? And then we executed everything, what? On the lower time frame. And you guys, I know my entry wasn't perfect in the beginning when I showed you guys, but that's okay, guys, because you are waiting for price to at least come in this area, right? Don't marry your zones to then, market exit trade and then make money. So maybe you were in drawdown for a couple, an hour or two or a couple minutes. Guys, I'm sorry. I can be okay. You should be okay with that because this was a pretty solid setup regardless. If you entered slightly early on the 5 minute when you saw price approaching your zone, right? When price approached here, even this area, this is perfect. Market X, this is close to the previous high, right? You don't need it to be completely perfect, like so perfect that it taps this line at 3270.85 perfectly. No, you don't need that. As long as you're in the area, that is great. That you should be proud of that. Okay. So TP basically hit, right? This was our first target, second target hit, third target not all the way, but that's okay. Technically, there was another high before this level of resistance, which makes sense. So this is just me explaining, okay, I understand why we retraced from here, because this is what you guys have to learn to do. You have to just connect the dots, right? And then let's just let it play and see what else the price does. Okay, and then eventually hits our full target, right? Guys, what do I do on the higher time frame? Okay, draw my trading range near current price. Showed you guys how I do this, right? High and a low near current price action. The dotted line is current price. Okay, sometimes I like to box a zone, so I'm gonna box it, right? Box it here. We have our support and we have our one resistance zone. Beautiful. Okay. So, this and beautiful. Okay. Dropping down onto the 30-minute time frame, right? Because I kind of knew that there was going to be a lot of price action happening on the 15. So I was like, you know what? Let me just drop onto the 30, just readjust my stuff, play around with it. So once I hit the 15-minute time frame, it's easy to read, right? Sometimes I may even have to adjust the levels that I drew as far as above and below price. Maybe I'll go slightly lower for this one. And as far as this one, I see a current one that's just slightly better. So I'm going to use this one. And these can also be our reference points. Why? Because we are validating liquidity with them if price decides to go out of our zones, right? If we start breaking, we know that might not be a true liquidity sweep, as you guys know. So now that we're on the 30-minute time frame, ooh, I'm like, oh, and this is where I should start really drawing some zones. Let me draw a zone, right? Currently, what are we looking at, guys? We see what? We see, we see, we have a support zone here. Okay, so when we actually look at when we actually look at the higher time frame, you guys can see we're overall bullish, right? Here we had a correction here, and now we're trying to push up right now, at least trying to. Okay, currently creating bearish structure though. Okay, this we had a liquidity sweep, price swept this previous high here, then sold down to create the support. We know in this area, we can sometimes do what? Create a lower high, right? If we fail to break it, if we do break it, we're looking at this previous high, seeing if it gets broken. If it doesn't, we know prices might come back down. And we want to ensure that price continuously breaks lows in general if we want price to go lower. Okay. That being said, I'm going to go onto my middle time frame, right? 2 hour or the 1 hour, see if there's anything I want to draw, right? There's nothing crazy I want to draw, right? So I ended up drawing this on the 30-minute time frame. So the 30-minute time frame because I knew there might have been too much price action on the 15 and I might be overwhelmed, right? So right now you have this level here. We can box out if we want to. If not, you don't have to. I'm not going to, right? And now this is where we have to analyze price, right? Let's see what actually happened. Okay. You guys can see here, we had a little box here. We had a little ping pong, right? Kept failing to break the lows, kept failing to break the lows here, and we kept failing to break the highs here, right? But then we finally did what? We came up, took these highs out, right? But when we came here, what did we test? We tested a level that likes to be tested to create a lower high to continue pushing down. We know that previous highs like to be tested to create higher lows, but you see how it looks like we're trying to break it, which could mean that price is trying to, push down for sells. And you have to remember on the higher time frame, we had what? We had some sellers that were in control here, right? We had some sellers, trying to gain control here, right? We could see that sellers, right? Even though we were overall bullish, sellers were still trying to gain control. We can clearly see that even if you were to draw a trend line, guys, we have been respecting, bearish structure pretty nicely. Even though we did come out of this trend line here, we still respected this previous high here, still creating a lower high, essentially. Okay. When I go onto the 15-minute time frame, because you guys know I like to truly look at price action on that time frame. All right. I do want to readjust everything because this is a little choppy for me. I want it to be a little bit more clear, right? We go on to the 15-minute time frame, okay? I might have to readjust the reference point that I drew on the higher time frame, which is okay. Usually I do wait till I get to the 15-minute time frame to draw some type of reference point at some type of high, right? You guys might not see this one as clear, but the reason why I drew it here is because of this level here, right? I know we might get some type of retracement, so I want to ensure that if we do, that is validated, right? So all I'm gonna do, guys, right? I'm gonna analyze market structure on the lower time frame. The higher time frame, I developed a bias. Figured out where I'm currently at in the market. Lower time frame is where you're gonna analyze the charts, right? You're gonna analyze where are you in the market? What are you seeing? Well, guys, what I see right now is I see, price, created this beautiful structure here, right? But do you guys see how we keep failing to, kind of break these lows here, right? We tested this once, twice, three times. So whenever you see failed breaks of structure, what did I say that you guys have to do? You have to be on the hunt for liquidity to see if price just needs more strength to go down, right? The reason why we aren't thinking about buys, guys, well, we can be thinking about buys, but we just have to make sure we have those buy confirmations, breaking highs and respecting lows, right? So we just have to watch structure. We know right now we're not even breaking lows, right? We know right now we're not even breaking highs. So we have to wait. So I'm going to see, okay, we are failing to break these lows here. How are we going to react now? We have to do what? Look at these previous highs to see how we react because maybe we might sweep liquidity to then sell down, right? Maybe we'll try to retrace and maybe we'll try to retrace here. Maybe to create a lower high, and then we can finally start, breaking lows and then selling down and breaking structure to then sell down. These are things that you're looking at. You are basically analyzing structure. Guys, that's it. And I know it might be easier said than done, But as you get better, you're going to understand this more, right? So I'm watching previous highs, right? I always watch highs because why? If we fail to break going down, we have only one other option to do. We might go up. So we have to watch these highs to ensure that we're not going to get faked out and price isn't just going to reverse in the opposite direction, right? So we're gonna watch to see, right? We're basically watching. Are we gonna finally get strength to break structure here? Or are we gonna retrace to these highs here? And how do we react when we come up into these highs? Next candle. All right. Let's just add it more candles. Look, boom. So you guys see this? So when we came back up here, we did what? We took this high out. We took all these highs out. And even as we approach this zone, what do we also have to notice? What did we notice here? This is price trying to do what? Create a lower high, right? We created a lower high. Beautiful lower high being created here. Okay, LH, right? And then we have, these lows here that we're trying to get broken but couldn't. But what do we also have, guys? Well, if you guys understand structure, we have a previous high. We know those love to be tested to create a higher low, right? So essentially, wouldn't it make sense that I would want price to break this because I have been saying that in my videos to get in on some type of what? Some type of retest in this area to then sell down, right? And then how do I determine my targets, guys? Well, they're going to be at lows for sells, right? We can have it as target one, maybe here, target two, and then the final target is going to be this low here, target three or something. And then if we are just truly bearish, then we know we might potentially come all the way down to all these lows here, then the next low, then the next low, right? So we have price taking out these highs here, right? It did what? It failed to break structure, right? So we immediately were like, okay, we're going to be on the hunt for liquidity. Took this out. Did not even break this zone because why? We're staying more wick than body, right? That means we hate it up here. We don't want to go up. We're staying below this previous low. And because we are, this is where sellers can do it. Gain control to push price down and finally gain the strength it needs to continue pushing down and break past these lows here, right? So what are my entry confirmations, guys? Well, I'm going to start deleting a couple lines, guys, because I don't want you guys to get too overwhelmed, right? So we have an LQ sweep here. So, wow, that's one of our confirmations, right? And a liquidity sweep, right? We have an LQ sweep. We have market structure. Price is creating a lower high. 4 hour overall bias, right? Remember, if price wants to continue pushing down, this is what? A perfect level, a previous low where price likes to do what? Create a lower high. So this level might be strong for sells, right? Which can be confirmed on the lower time frame based off of reading structure. Okay. So we swept it, we took it out, right? I know I want a break of structure. If we don't have a low that we can use, guys, I said you can use a previous high in a bullish market structure, right? So bullish market structure because we are going up. So I can wait for price to break this, and then I can essentially wait for price to do what? Retest this level to sell down. Okay. So again, guys, if you guys, might think my charts are messy, I don't know if you guys do, but you can always just, readjust your zones. Okay. Because we're not even going as that high, we can maybe we can just box our zone here because clearly this zone is pretty strong, right? And then we can just, make this a little bit more pretty if we need to. I'm just making it more pretty so you guys can see what I'm kind of seeing, right? A lower high or a lower high is created, right? Now we want a 15-minute break of structure, correct? So we have a 15-minute break. So you guys can say, okay, some of you guys might think this is a break of structure. Honestly, I would say that this is pretty good because we know that this is considered what, if you understand all my videos. an 8R level, we already know prices were tracing. So I would already say that this is a break of structure in my opinion. This candle here, I like it. So once we get the 15-minute break of structure, the next step is to do what? Go onto the 5 minute. Once you go onto the 5 minute, what's the next step, guys? The next step is to wait for price to retrace to the area, right? In this case, I'm looking in this area to retest to sell down. And then again, my targets are always going to be based off of what? Previous lows for sells, or previous highs for buys, right? And as we start breaking structure, you can pay attention. Are we breaking strong? Are we breaking continuously? If we are, we know we can target lower, right? Or if we are, we know we can target higher. So you watch price, have your TP point. Let's just say I'm greedy. I want to go all the way down here. Right? We have our entry confirmations. We have higher time frame structure telling us that what? It's all valid. We have an LQ sweep, right? We have a break of structure, right? We know price needs to do what? Retest in this area to create a lower high. And then we're hoping price sells down. And then you're just watching how structure is. Guys, so this is what I mean. All you do is connect the dots. That's it. Look at that. That's all you're doing, right? We knew price was potentially going to create what? Like, let's actually zoom in. Right? A support here, cool. A lower high in this area if it failed to break, which it did multiple times. So we know we might come back down here. And the target was what? This low here, then this next low here, and then what? Then this next low here, right? And that's what it did. And we got confirmations, right? This is why I said you have to know where you are in the market on the 4 hour, because then you can just drop down into the 15. Analyze market structure the way I have taught you guys, the power of highs and lows, anticipating retracements, all of those, right? Watch how price is reacting. Are we breaking structure? If we're failing to break, we know we're going to reverse. Then you're watching either the highs or the lows, right? In this case, we're failing to break lows, right? So we know what? We have to watch the highs to make sure that we're not getting faked out, to make sure that we are basically doing what? Hunting for liquidity. So my stop loss is usually above previous highs, but in this case, guys, because this is such a high stop loss, because I want to make sure I have what? A 1 to 3. I'm gonna do slightly this one, which is what? It covers at least these highs, which I'm okay with. And because we already swept liquidity, we shouldn't want to come anywhere near this high here, right? So, so just to reanalyze, guys, this trade, we had our 15-minute break of structure, which was what we wanted. Then you can drop down to the 5 minute if you want, or you can watch structure on the 15. But I like to usually watch it on the 5 minute, wait for price to do what? Retrace into the area that I'm looking at, right? For price to create some type of lower high, which is somewhere in this area. And once it gets into the area, this is where I market X. And you just have to be confident. Don't question it. You already have a what? A bunch of confirmations. Don't be scared. Just wait for price to retrace it on the 5 minute. Boom, which it did. Ended up testing, this low here, right? Again, you can look on the line chart if you need to. This low here, right? So maybe we were in drawdown just a little bit, but this is not that much, right? Even if we wanted to readjust it, that's okay, right? But we came here, we tested in this area, okay? Even on the 15-minute, like this level, this wick here, it was just tested. That's how we, saw it. But you would already have been waiting for price to, approach it in the area. So you would market execute in this area. And then, all you're doing is just doing what? Letting price do its thing, right? And then you just caught a beautiful trade. Honestly, as you get used to this approach and this strategy and just market structure in general, you'll get used to things that you'll see and you're like, oh, I'm confident with this. I'm confident with this, right? It's just a matter of time, right? It's just a matter of seeing it, repeating it. Remember, repetition is the mother of all learning. But guys, this is my strategy. This is my approach. You see, is really just market structure, liquidity, pure price action. That's it. There's no other concepts I can teach because that I don't do anything else. So I really, really, really hope that this truly helped you guys in some form and in some way. Again, revisit this video, look at the PDF file of different examples, kind of see, okay, I wait for this, I wait for this, because that is all it is. But this is the end of this video, guys. I really, really hope you enjoyed it.